Hello, crafty friends, and welcome to the Scrapbook.com channel. I'm Adrienne Boese, better known online as Alice Scraps Wonderland. Today, I'm sharing how to create these two scrapbook layouts featuring the Magic Meadow collection plus a few sparkly touches of mixed media. So let's not waste any time and get right into this tutorial. Besides the Magic Meadow collection, I'm using a handful of other supplies, including the white mixed media paper in 12x12 and 6x8 sizes, the Roma stencil, some Prima flowers, Tim Holtz Distress Oxides, Cloud Whip, Ephemera, and the Unicorn Shimmer Flakes. I've got some of these supplies in one of the mini frost bins to help keep me organized. And you can, of course, find all of the supplies used listed in the description box below. For this first layout, I'll be scrapping a 4x6 photo of my nephew, which I've already trimmed down by 1/4 inch on each side. To mat this photo, I'm going to create a little doily with a stitched scalloped edge in the Magic Meadow stamp and die set. I'll be cutting this from the 6x8 white mixed media paper. I'm using the regular side of my magnetic mat and my Sizzix Big Shot switch to cut this die as the cardstock is really thick. I place this edger die near the bottom of the cardstock and hold the die in place with some mint tape, then run this through my machine. I need to make a second cut with this die, but I want to make sure I get this doily wide enough, so I place the photo down on the cardstock to help me place the die where I need it. I tack the die down with mint tape and run it through my machine again. As you can see, this doesn't quite go to the edge of the 6-inch wide cardstock, and I'm just going to use my paper trimmer to cut the sides off this doily. These straight edges will be hidden under the photo. To add a little color around the photo, I'm using the green gingham paper from the 6x8 Meadow pattern paper pad. It's already the right width, so I cut this paper to about 5 inches tall, then tear a bit of the excess off on one side for a shabby chic touch. To get the doily die cut to stand out from the white background, I'm going to create a background of strips of patterned paper. I pull a bunch of the pretty patterns from the same Meadow paper pad and cut them into 1x6-inch strips. I cut quite a few more than I needed, but I'll use these on another project, so there won't be any waste here. I think doing strips of different pattern papers is a fun way to make your own background, whether it's on a card or a layout. I use the dotted adhesive to attach my photo to the torn pattern paper mat. Then I use the photo and doily to help me place the strips of paper on the background. I decided on this offset look for the strips. Once I'm happy with the placement, I add a small amount of dotted adhesive to the back of each strip. This next step is totally optional, but I love the texture it gives. I'm sewing a line down each strip of paper. You can use a sewing machine like I am here, or hand sew these. If you decide not to sew, be sure to add a little more adhesive than I did to the backs of your paper strips to hold them in place better. Once the strips are fully adhered, push up on the long edges of each strip to distress the edges and create dimension and texture. Now it's time to start gluing elements down and finishing up more die cuts. I'm using the 1mm thick foam adhesive to adhere the matted photo to the doily and then the doily to the background. One of my tips is to use a stack and sort tray to hold your trash and recycling. I always have 2 of these on my desk while working, so I don't have to keep walking over to my recycling and trash cans. I place a piece of floral ephemera from Prima Marketing's The Home Baker collection on 2 corners of the photo and use 2mm thick foam adhesive to adhere these in place. I'll be adding these flowers from the same collection later, but first I want to finish up with these die cuts. I've already die cut and glued together a bunch of the flowers, leaves, and the sweet little fawn from the Magic Meadow stamp and die set. I used the solid cream, pink, and green from the Meadow paper pad, plus Spellbinder's fawn and acorn cardstocks for the browns. I used the tiny flawless blending brushes to add a bit of Distress Oxides to the edges of the die cuts for more depth. I used Victorian Velvet on the pink, Bundled Sage on the green, Antique Linen on the cream, and Vintage Photo on the brown. To add the white spots on our little fawn, I applied dots of the white luster brush to her eyes and the debossed spots on her back. If you find your brush is a little too wet, just wipe it on a crafty cleanup cloth. As a final bit of preparation, I stamp out the You Are Loved sentiment from the stamp in the Magic Meadow set. It's a new stamp, so I prime it by rubbing it with my fingers, and I need several impressions to get a good image. Then I cut the stamped sentiment with the coordinating die. And I almost forgot to add this little bow to the neck of the fawn. To glue the Prima flowers in place, I use hot glue. You can use liquid adhesive or a gel adhesive, but I'm not going to be playing around with the placement of these, so hot glue is perfect to grab and hold these right away. All of these flowers are from Prima's The Home Baker collection, and I think they match really well with the Meadow patterned papers. Then all I need to do is place all of my die cuts and stamped sentiment where I want them and glue them down using foam adhesive and artiste glue. For the touch of mixed media, I apply a bit of the clear craft glue to the edges of the large paper flowers. Then I sprinkle the unicorn shimmer flakes onto the flowers. I like to pour a bit out into my hand and then sprinkle the flakes on with my fingers. Once both flowers are covered in glitter, I turn this over and tap off the excess, which can then go back in the jar. Then I add a few sparkly Pinkfresh glitter drops, and this first layout is done. For the second layout, I added a bit more mixed media, and I'm starting by applying some Cloud Whip through the Roma stencil. Before this paste dries, I sprinkle some of the shimmer flakes onto the stenciled paste. If your paste is fresh, these flakes will stick easily. I've had my paste for a while now, so it's a little on the drier side, and I gently push the flakes into the paste with my fingers using the lightest touch. While the paste and shimmer flakes dry, I work on matting the photo with some papers from the A2 and 6x8 Meadow patterned paper pads. I already cut this 3x4 photo down by a 1/4 inch on each side and matted it first with an A2 sized patterned paper. Then I added a patterned paper from the 6x8 pad, tearing the bottom edge of both pattern mats and adhering the layers together with dotted adhesive. I add 1mm thick foam adhesive to the back of this matted photo, but don't adhere it to the layout background just yet. For this layout, I'm focusing on the nested stitched labels die and the coordinating frame die in the Magic Meadow stamp and die set. I've pulled one 6x8 and a bunch of A2 sized Meadow pattern papers and die cut the labels. I've saved the pattern internal cut from the frame label and then die cut the frame twice from white mixed media paper. I also die cut the same sized nested stitched label from the white mixed media cardstock. I glue the frame layers together with Artiste glue so it is 3 layers thick with the patterned paper on top. Then I glue this to the white nested stitched label base. To see if I want to add the internal patterned paper cut inside, I first finish assembling the fox from the Magic Meadow stamp and die set. Like the fawn, I've cut it from solids from the Meadow pattern paper set and his little nose from Spellbinder's Acorn cardstock. I use the same distress oxides to add shading. I hold this little fox up on the plain white and the patterned paper and decide I like it with the patterned paper. I use the dotted adhesive to adhere the patterned paper insert, making sure I get it lined up perfectly and pressed all the way in. I also die cut the hello from the Magic Meadow set, cutting it once from the white mixed media paper and 3 layers from the Acorn cardstock. I then adhere the photo to the layout background. I've already used my trimmer to slice off a bit of the bottom and top nested labels on this layout, but you can also glue them in place and trim off the overhang with scissors. I then add 1, 2, and 3mm thick foam adhesives to the back of the other 3 nested labels. Before adding them to the layout, I add 2 floral ephemera clusters from Prima's The Home Baker collection. Then after dry fitting the couple of flowers and leaves left over from the other layout, plus some of the tiny sugar sprinkle flowers from Prima, I began gluing everything in place with liquid and foam adhesive. The Prima flowers get glued in place with hot glue, then I add some of the Shimmer Flakes to them with the clear craft glue. The finishing touch is adding some of the leaf glitter drops from Pinkfresh to this layout as well. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this 2-page layout idea using the Magic Meadow collection and Shimmer Flakes from Scrapbook.com. Be sure to like this video, then find me over on Instagram and my blog for more mixed media inspiration. Until next time, happy crafting!